justice. Now is the time. To lift our nation from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood. Now is the time. I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal.
Because this march is what he died for. And I think if he died for it, I could carry out what he started.
You know what he stood for?
Yes. He stood for nonviolence and peace for all men of all kinds.
You believe in that?
Yes, I do.
We give thanks to God who gave us a peaceful warrior, who built an army and a movement that is mighty without missiles, able without an atomic arsenal, ready without rockets, real without bullets, an army tutored in living and loving and not in killing. We thank God for giving us a leader who was willing to die, but not willing to kill.
Larchmont and Mamaroneck and the town of Mamaroneck welcome you this evening to the annual tribute to Dr. Martin Luther King. To Dr. Martin Luther King and to his life and to his principles. We propose that this evening should also be a reminder that we must deepen our commitment and intensify our efforts to bring Dr. King's dream to reality. We've had some news today, news that we had 2 years ago, the very night that we had our program, which shows that conflict and fighting seems to be the way that many people in this world think we will solve our problems. At home and throughout the world, crimes against humanity continue. We are faced with AIDS epidemic, mass starvation, displaced people, continued homelessness, persistent racism, anti-Semitism, and sexism, and increased violence. Let's not ask for whom the bell tolls. Tonight's theme, for whom the American dream, was constantly pursued and addressed by Dr. King. The American dream, the universal dream, is the dream to realize one's full potential without encumbrance. The dream with freedom from poverty, homelessness, or joblessness, freedom from racism, religious or ethnic discrimination, freedom from sexism, freedom from classism, is the heritage of all people wherever found. We will now have the invocation that will be given by Reverend S.D. Denkinger of St. John's Episcopal Church, after which we will all sing, lift every voice, and sing. And while you rise for the invocation, would you please stay standing for the song?
Let us pray. Dear God, our Father, open to our minds and hearts the vision and dream of thy servant, Martin Luther King, Jr., in whose memory we gather this evening. In this time of continued suffering and want and oppression at home and abroad, may we be inspired to follow on the pathway of peace and sharing and brotherhood, no matter how steep and rough that path may be. Give us trust and love and openness with each other this evening as we challenge each other to radical honesty and total obedience to you, the God of us all, that we may see through the veils and knock down the walls which separate us, and be able to stand hand in hand as thy children, free at last from hatred and prejudice, blindness and hardness of heart. Thy will be done, O Lord, that thy kingdom may come. Amen.
Voice and I'm on the Human Rights Commission of the Village of Larchmont. At this point, I'm the acting chair, and it's my pleasure to read to you a part of the proclamations. There are many proclamations here, so we chose not to read all of them. We have a wonderful letter from our Congresswoman, Nita Lowy. Dear friends, I am sorry that I cannot be with you this very special award ceremony. The King Award salutes our quiet heroes, individuals who have worked tirelessly to assist the less fortunate, strengthen our community, and nurture the bonds of our common human experience. It recognizes the remarkable few who rise above petty or selfish concern to embody the values for which Martin Luther King Jr. struggled and died. Jack Slifer has shown us that sometimes the most humane acts are the simplest. A vegetable garden, a hobby, now a source of sustenance for those in need, and of gentle beauty for the entire community. Grow a row is vivid proof of the potential for good in every plot of land, every idle hand, and every seed. Thanks to the insight and efforts of Martha Lopez and Sister Laura Reynolds, Voz y Vida promotes mutual respect among Latinos and Anglos and helps us to appreciate our diversity. The unique strength of this American melting pot. They have shown us that our neighbors, whatever their origin, are never burdens, but instead sources of vitality waiting to be tapped. I commend you on your selection of these extraordinary individuals. In honoring them, we honor our best. Sincerely, Nita M. Lowy, Member of Congress. We have also proclamations from our own town. Whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. assumed both the leadership and the spirit of the American Civil Rights Movement at a critical juncture, and Dr. King led the Civil Rights Movement without violence or hatred, but with peace and love. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Caroline Silverstone, Supervisor of the Town of Mamaroneck, do hereby proclaim Monday, January 18, 1993, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day throughout the town of Mamaroneck, and urge all residents to join with me to reaffirm our commitment to decency, justice, and equality for all. A proclamation from the Mayor of the Village of Larchmont. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. dedicated his life to the pursuit of a dream which would guarantee equal justice for all men and women. I, Cheryl W. Louis, Mayor of the Village of Larchmont, do proclaim January 13, 1993 to be Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day in the Village of Larchmont, and urge all Larchmont residents to ensure liberty and justice for all. Further, I offer congratulations to the worthy recipients of the 1993 Martin Luther King Jr. Award. In memory of Peter Fusek, Jack K. Slifer, whose concern and dedication has helped to feed the hungry and homeless through his Grow a Row vegetable gardens, and whose flower bed contributes have beautified our community for many years, and Voz y Vida for promoting unity and integration in the community. Proclamation from the Mayor of the Village of Mamaroneck. Whereas once in a lifetime, a person comes along who dedicates himself to serving others and preserving the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., by his untimely death, was unable to fulfill his dream of uniting all citizens to come together to work, share, and love as one nation. Be it resolved that I, Paul J. Noto, Mayor of the Village of Mamaroneck, ask that the memory of the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. remain forever in our hearts and minds, and that we will always be reminded of his unselfish work, and that we will continue to promote his dream of world peace and harmony among all people. Now, the individual proclamation. Whereas Jack Slifer has over the years been an active community volunteer, he is a founding member of the Westchester Men's Garden Club, a member of the Larchmont Village Beautification Committee, director of Friends of the Reservoir, and an active member in the Life Center and in the Interfaith Council for Affordable Residence. Therefore be it resolved that I, Caroline Silverstone, Supervisor, and the members of the Town Council of the Town of Mamaroneck congratulate and extend our very best wishes to Jack F. Slifer for his outstanding achievement as recipient of this year's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Award in memory of Peter Fosick. Could we have the lights so Jack could come forward? Whereas the Latino community in the Village of Mamaroneck now comprises over 10% of the population and serves to enrich the town's cultural mix for the benefit of all. And whereas communication problems due to the differences between the Latino and non-Latino cultures cause a variety of misunderstandings, and whereas in 1991, Paz y Vida was formed by a group of dedicated volunteers in the community, headed by Sister Laura Reynolds and Martha Lopez, to bridge these communication gaps and promote cultural harmony. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Caroline Silverstone, and the members of the Town Council of the Town of Mamaroneck urge all citizens to promote mutual understanding and respect the rights of each individual's rights, duties, and obligation to his fellow citizens. I think Martha Lopez is here to receive this for Vasquita. Proclamations that have come from our elected officials. I also would like to mention that Jack Slifer and Martha Lopez are both people who left their native lands to come to America, and they have made themselves wonderful citizens in our community. And I think those of us who live here must give them a double applause.
As I was saying, unfortunately, the Renaissance Youth Choir could not be with us this evening because they're from Ellensville. And I understand that the weather up in that direction is not good at all. Therefore, the First Baptist Gospel Choir is going to divide their selections into two parts. And the first selection that they will sing in a few minutes will be Stretch Out. I'd like to turn you over now to the First Baptist Gospel Choir. students from the Black Culture Club and Ms. Shannon Porter Turner will do a presentation for whom the American dream, for the African American women in our history. Ms. Turner Porter.
Good evening. For whom the American dream. For the past few years, members of the Black Culture Club have shared with you some highlights of African and African American history. This year, the theme is for whom the American dream. Well, we say that it was the dream of the many African and African American women whose ancestors were brought to the United States beginning in 1619. The black women have lived through conditions of cruelty so horrible, so bizarre, that the women had to reinvent themselves. They had to find safety and sanctity in themselves, or they would not have been able to tolerate those torturous lives. They had to learn to be self-forgiven quickly, for often their exterior exploits were at odds with their interior beliefs. Still, they had to survive as wholly and healthily as possible in an infectious and sick climate. To others, they were mostly seen and described in the abstract, concrete in their labor, but surreal in their humanness. They knew the grief of enforced separation from mates who were not theirs to claim, for the men themselves did not have legal possession of their own bodies. The larger society thought that women could not save themselves. They were seen as acquiescent, submissive Aunt Jemimas who showed grinning faces, plump laps, fat embracing arms, and brown jaws, pouncing laughter. They were described as leering buxom wenches with round heels, open thighs, and sexual appetites that could not be satisfied. They were accused of being marauding matriarchs, of stern demeanor, battering hands, unforgiving gazes, and castrating behavior. When we imagine women inhabit all these aberrations, it becomes obvious that the women themselves did not hallucinate, but rather they were national, racial, and historical hallucinations. Those contradictions stumped even the most fertile imagination, for they could not have existed despite the romantic racism which introduced them into the American psyche. Surprisingly, above all, many women did survive as themselves. Tonight, 10 young ladies from the Black Culture Club will role play some examples of those women and young girls who survived and who had dreams which were fulfilled against many odds. Our music is provided to us by Mr. Leo Clow, who wrote this, and is a science teacher here at the school. Our stories tonight will show young girls and women as students, teachers, dancers, singers, and leaders for civil rights. In 1865, there were not school buildings, no teachers, no books, no money in the devastated South. But there were 4 million newly freed slaves who sought education as eagerly as they sought land, and who had made untold sacrifices to acquire the rudiments of learning and establish schools for their children. While the war was still raging, the Union forces were faced with the need of educating the slaves who had flocked behind the Union lines. An approach to the problem was first worked out in Port Royal, South Carolina, where the War Department, as early as 1862, encouraged Northern volunteers selected, financed, and supervised by Voluntary Relief Organization to build a rudimentary school system for the freedmen. This set the pattern for the Northern abolitionists or church-related groups to organize, finance, and staff schools in the South. The Bureau of Refugees, Freedmen, and Abandoned Lands, set up by Congress in March 1865, utilized and coordinated the efforts of the nearly 300 groups operating schools in the South. The Freedmen's Bureau finally consolidated this vast volunteer effort and supplied money for school buildings and supplies, leaving the staffing and the run of the schools to the philanthropic groups, such as the American Missionary Association, the American Freedmen's Aid Societies of the various churches. There were white and black teachers. What you will hear now is an example of catechizing of freedmen children. The strongly missionary and paternalistic approach of many teachers to the freedmen is illustrated by the presentation. The first was recorded at a Richmond, Virginia school, and the second and one in Louisville, Kentucky. The time is the 1860s. Good morning, class.
Good morning.
Are you glad you are free?
Yes, indeed.
Who gave you your freedom?
God.
Through whom?
Abraham Lincoln.
Is Mr. Lincoln dead?
Yes.
Who is your president?
Johnson.
Are you glad you have school teachers?
Yes.
Do you want these friends who are here today to go north and send you more teachers?
Yes, indeed.
Very good. Now, children, you don't think white people are any better than you because they have straight hair and white faces?
No.
No, they're no better, but they are different. They possess great power. They form this great nation, this great government. They control this vast country. Now, what makes them different from you?
Money.
Yes, but what enabled them to obtain it? How did they get money?
Got it off us. Stole it off y'all.
The violence which marked the overthrow of the Reconstruction government fell with particular fury on teachers and supporters of black schools. The events in the next presentation is a testimony given before a congressional committee investigating Ku Klux Klan activities. It typifies what happened in many counties and states in the South. The time is 1872, the 42nd Congress, the second session, before the Joint Select Committee to inquire into the condition of affairs in the late insurrectionary states, Washington, D.C. Our guest, Jada Bean, who is, what is your name?
Caroline Smith. I am 35 years old.
And what did you leave home for?
The Ku Klux came there.
How many were there?
25, 30, perhaps more, but 10 of them with me.
What did they say? When was that?
Late in the night, I had sat up that night because they had come once before. Most of us in our family had sat up the better part of the night. I was nigh asleep when they came.
How were they dressed?
Their clothing was dressed like anybody else, but their undergarments made them look like children. Their faces were false faces. They came in and caught my husband and beat him as much as they wanted to. And when they came in, they said, "Who's this?" I said, "Caroline." They said, come out here. I went outside. They made me get on my knees. They said, "Take this off and wrap it around your waist." I took my dress off and wrapped it around my waist. Then they ripped it. Then they said, "Take your undergarments off." I did, and they whipped me 50 times. When they finished, they told me to get up and get a drink of water and don't say anything else and don't sass any white ladies. I said I did.
You say they made a general scattering of the darkies in March?
Yes,
What reason did they give for that?
They didn't want us to have schools. They didn't want white people to countenance us, and they wouldn't let any other, they would whip any other black person they saw.
Why did they not want you to have schools?
One man whose son was a scholar, he had books in his library. They went to his house, burned all his books, and did any other niggas that had a book in his house. They dared to kill any man who had a scholar. So we had schoolhouses in every district with no scholars. Black folks in the town wouldn't dress themselves up if they were anything special for fear they'd be whipped. I served them better than I served my master who raised me, and this is how they served me.
Well, thank you very much, Caroline Smith, for your testimony. Jim Crow and Jane Crow. They've not always carried it graciously, but they have carried it effectively. The black women have shared a disproportionate burden in the Negro family as they struggle to keep it together. Not only have they stood shoulder to shoulder with their men in every phase of the battle, but they have also continued to stand when their men were destroyed by it. Langston Hughes wrote a poem, Mother to Son, has great meaning for that generation who still recalls a wash tub and the steaming wooden stove. It reveals the great gift of the black woman for mothering, consoling, and encouraging. Kim Jones.
Well, son, let me tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it, splinters, boards torn up, and places with no carpets on the floor. Bare. But all the time, I was still climbing on, reaching for landings and turning corners. Going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So boy, don't you turn back. Don't you set down on that step. Cause you find it's kind of hard. Don't you fall now. For I's still going on, honey. I's still climbing. And for me, life ain't been no crystal stair.
There were many African American women who found as fools, who suffered, who made all kinds of sacrifices. Tonight, we highlight Mary McLeod Bethune, who found the college on a garbage dump. Renee Reed.
I am Mary McLeod Bethune. I was born in Maysville, South Carolina, a country town in the midst of rice and cotton fields. My mother, father, older brothers and sisters had all been slaves until the Emancipation Proclamation. Mother was free, but continued to work in the Macintosh employ until she had earned enough to buy 5 acres of her own from her former master. Then my parents built our cabin. I was the last of 17 children. When I was born, the first free child in our home. Mother screamed, "Thank God!" Mary was born under our own vine and fig tree. See, Mother was of royal African blood, a child ruled by a matriarch. Throughout her bitter years as a slave, Mama managed to preserve a queen-like dignity. She managed all the business in our house. All us children had chores to do, milk cows and wash and clean and iron. But me, I was father's champion cotton picker. I was able to pick 250 pounds of cotton each day. And I was only 9. See, it was hard for a Negro child to get an education, especially in the South. There used to be thousands of square miles, even entire states, without one single black school. See, colored children weren't allowed to go to public school with the white children. Well, all that changed. You see, a knock on my door changed my whole life. There she stood, a young black woman, a missionary sent by the North Presbyterian Church to start a school by me. She had asked my parents to send me, so they said okay. Each morning, I picked up my pail of milk and bread, and I walked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 miles to school. And every afternoon, 5 miles back. The whole world was opened up to me when I learned to read. I'll never forget the day when the teacher opened up the Bible to John chapter 3, verse 16. She read, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever that believeth in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life." Scales fell from my eyes, and the light came flooding in. Inferiorities that I had, handicaps that I feared, gone. It said, whosoever, no Jew, no Gentile, no Protestant, no Catholic, no black, nor white, just whosoever. It meant that me, a humble Negro child, had just as much right and chance as anybody in the sight and love of God. Well, as those words poured up a battery of determination and confidence in me that never failed. I went on to a higher education, paid for by a white dressmaker, of course, and then I became a teacher. I had children and married. Well, through my teaching years, I heard of a railroad being built in Florida, and Negro families were flooding in from all over the place. So I went to Florida, Daytona, and I found myself a shabby 4-room cottage. The owner said $11 a month. Well, I convinced him that I would pay him $1.50, and by the end of the month, I'd have the rest. And on October 3rd, 1904, I opened up the doors to my school. 5 girls enrolled and 1 cute little boy, my son. So, parents agreed to pay a 50-cent weekly tuition. Well, we burned logs and used splinters for pencils and mashed berries and used them for ink. I found myself in the back of kitchens and hotels and restaurants picking up used linen and broken down chairs and dishware and kitchenware, anything I could find. And we scoured it and mended it, and anything I found use in that school. Well, in less than 2 years, enrollment had increased to 250 students. I got desperate and had to rent a hall next door and combine both between dormitories and classrooms. See, kids' parents had enough trust in me to leave them there overnight, and I had to use corn sacks for beds. Well, although I had no money left, cash money seemed petty. Well, I had faith in the living God. I had faith in myself, and a desire to serve and help. Nearby, there was a dumping field called Hell's Hole. And determined to buy it, I approached the owner. They told me it would cost $250. Okay. So I convinced him, Mr. Owner, I'll give you $5 down and return in a couple of days with the initial payment. He agreed. Not knowing I didn't have a red cent in my pocket. But I managed. I sold sweet potato pies and ice cream to the local construction workers, and I paid off that $250. And that's how the Bethune-Cookman College came about. You see, I had learned to become a good beggar by then. And I wrote letters to who's who in Florida, big time people. See, I had to move on to the big leagues for that. Standing in churches and, asking for donations and having little meetings, it just wasn't making it. So I wrote my letters to the big men with the big pockets and the big wallets. And I got a letter from Mr. Gamble of Procter & Gamble. Yeah, well, told me to come to his office one day. Without hesitation, I knocked on that door, and when he opened it, I said, "Hi, my name is Mary McLeod Bethune." Mary, you're the woman who wants to open up the college. I see. I thought you was white. Well, Mr. Gamble, you see how white I am. Well, he came to visit the college and was very impressed. And although I hadn't mentioned him dying that day, he wrote a check for $150 and became one of my fine investors and contributors. Another man by the name of J.S. Peabody. Yes, J.S. Peabody. After I had appealed for small funds, he gave me 25 cents and left. But 2 years later, Mr. Peabody came stepping into the college. Mary, do you remember me? I gave you a donation, 2 years ago. I was wondering if you kept track of that thing. 25 cents. Yes, we'll just check the books. Oh yes, Mr. Peabody, you made a donation of 25 cents. Yes, I did. But see, Mr. Peabody wasn't insulted. Actually, he was quite delighted that we had kept track of such small funds. And without a word after, he wrote me a check for $250. And when he died, he left me $10,000. Well, let's see. Mr. White. Mr. White came to visit our campus also. And he had seen one of the girls working on a broken singer machine, making a dress. Oh, well, he turned to me and said, "Mary, I think you have a good thing going here." He returned the next day with a check for $100 and a new sewing machine. I didn't know Mr. White was the singer champion together. See, they were in some little competition thing. Wasn't my business getting to it. I got a new sewing machine. Well, week and weeks passed, and he would bring blankets and shoes, and he was more coat for me. We had built a relationship. And when Mr. White died, he left the school $67,000. See, all the years the college was open, I didn't have to close it once because of funds. So like I said, I had faith in a living God, faith in me, and the desire to serve. That's all I wanted to do. Years went on, and I put my work into this college. I put everything I had into this college. And doctor said, "Mary, slow down, relax." Okay, I'll relax. Little did they know, I am my mother's daughter. The drums of Africa beat in my heart, and they would will not let me rest as long as there is a Negro boy or a Negro girl without a chance to prove what she or he is worth. I didn't sleep until I had every Negro child under my wing to teach them what they had the right to know. Because remember, whosoever the Bible said, no Jew, no Gentile, no Protestant, no Catholic, no black, no white, just whosoever believeth shall not perish, but have everlasting life.
Is still functioning today. In addition to the educators, there were many singers who experienced Jim Crow and difficulty. One of the most famous gospel singers in the world, Mahalia Jackson, Sabrina Hill.
I am Mahalia Jackson. I was born in New Orleans, Louisiana, and at the age of 16, I moved to Chicago, where I worked as a maid and then opened my own beauty shop. I sang in the Salem Baptist Choir and made concert tours to Europe and developed a great reputation. I was the world's greatest gospel singer. But as that went on, I was so involved in the color world that I didn't see how white people treat people with darker skin. But I showed them that they could not hurt me or put me down, because I was proud of who I was. I made concert tours to Virginia and Florida with my accompanist Mildred Bowles and my cousin John Stevens. People treated us like garbage. It was just terrible. Restaurants wouldn't serve us, gasoline stations wouldn't give us gas or oil, and people told us that there was no gas. But throughout our travels, it was really tough. Time was time for me to sing. I was so busy and so fast, I just had a hard time singing. At the end of my concerts, white people would come up to me, congratulate me, tell me how nice of a job I did. Deep down inside, felt like telling them where to go. But I stuck it out. I just told them that it was finally about time. They recognized me as a person instead of just a color.
And how was, what about the food? How did you survive on your travel?
We made it on food and just stuck it out together because we did what we had to do to survive.
And what was your policy whenever people came to your concert?
We would have them sit side by side next to the colored people, because when you come to a religious church or something, you're not coming to the tent to benefit somebody else. You're coming to learn something, to get something out of it.
Thank you very much, Mahalia. Example of a wonderful woman of great accomplishment is Janet Collins, portrayed by Lori Ann Swayze.
Hello, my name is Janet Collins. I was born on March 7, 1917 in New Orleans, Louisiana. When I was younger, I didn't have the problem that most other Negro children had. I suffered from an inferiority complex. In fact, I was arrogant. My parents told me, be proud of your heritage, girl, and I was. I didn't struggle to know where I was and where I came from. I had to struggle not to be conceited. Well, when I was 15, after practicing for many years to be a ballerina, I went to an audition at the Ballet Russe de Monte Carlo. I was there, I saw all these white girls, dolls up in their pretty little tutus, and there was this one girl. She had on the prettiest red cap shoes. They were beautiful. I'll never forget those shoes. Well, everybody went, and then it was my turn. And everything just got silent. I looked around to see what the problem was. I was the only black face in there. But I went on and I did what I had to do. And when I was finished, everybody applauded. That's how good I was. But the choreographer called me into his office, and he told me that I was wonderful. So I'm thinking I'm gonna get the part. But he said, no, you're black. And in order for you to dance with our company, we're gonna have to paint your face white. I said, no, I wouldn't want that. And he said, I know you would. So I walked down his room. As I walked down those steps, I cried and cried and cried. I thought that talent was what mattered. I didn't know that it had anything to do with the color of my skin. When I went home, I told my mother down, I said, they wanted me to paint my face white. She said, girl, don't give up. You go back on that bar and you exercise. Don't just be good, be excellent, because that's what it takes. Well, I practiced and practiced and practiced, and that's what it took. Because I was awarded the Donaldson Award for being the best ballet dancer on Broadway. But I don't like ballet. I didn't like Broadway that much. It was nice being in the spotlight, but yet everybody was cruel and it was too fickle. So I decided to leave Broadway and go work at the Metropolitan Opera. I was the first black person to work there. I was supposed to go on tour with them, but then the choreographer called me into his office. He said, you can't come with me. I asked why. I thought I was the best dancer here. He said, in the South, blacks aren't allowed to perform on the same stage as whites. I was very distraught, but yet I kept on going. When I got home, I tried to talk to some of my friends, but they wouldn't talk to me. They said that since I was a performer, that I was above black people. But yet, I didn't fit in with the white people neither, because I would never be white in my heart. So I really had nowhere to go. But yet, I kept on going. And by using all of God's gifts and talents He gave me, I became someone. And the greatest gift that God has given me is the gift of love. If you love somebody, then you'll be able to treat them justly, because love conquers all.
Our women continue to work. In the field of civil rights, one of our greatest ladies who's still alive today is Rosa Parks. Joyce James.
Hi, I'm Rosa Parks. I was born February 4th, 1913 in Tuskegee, Alabama. In Montgomery, there was inequality, but my mother believed in freedom and equality, which was never a reality in Montgomery, Alabama. In some stores, black people, when they went to go and try on hats, they would have to know if they were buying them, or they have to put on paper bags to try them on. And in shoe stores, there was a whole row of seats, but they would make the black people go to the back to try on shoes. And there was no black salesperson. I worked in Montgomery Fair department store during men's alteration. It was beginning of December, going on to the Christmas season. I was doing the heavy work. I was tired, but I'm always tired. I was going to the store to get me a heating pad for my back, shoulders, and neck. My back, shoulders, and neck. As I was getting on the bus, I saw this bus driver. I remember him because he evicted me from the bus in 1943. And I saw the seat by this black man, so I sat down next to him, and a few white people got on the bus. And all of them found seats except this one white man. And so the bus driver said, yeah, I'll get up. And so I said, so the black man got up. And then the other white man said, don't make it heavy on y'all selves. So the bus driver said, you heard what I said, get up. And I said to him, I ain't gonna be able to do it. And he said, well, I'm gonna have to call, the bus driver said, I'm gonna have to call the police. I said, well, you gonna do that, you call the police. So I sat down there, and the two white policemen came on the bus, and they said, what's the trouble? And I said, why y'all always giving black people problems? Why y'all always bothering us? And the white policeman said, the law is the law, and you under arrest. Yeah, that incident, it made me decide to make this as a test case. and the textbooks for segregations on the bus. So after that, it took people boycotted the buses of 381 days. And it made me realize that I did help in the Black civil rights movement.
Thank you. In 1957, Central High School, Little Rock, Arkansas, the hometown of our future president, 9 brave young ladies and gentlemen would embark on a major event. Tonight, we'd like to share the stories of 3 of those young girls, Minnie Jean Brown, Carlotta Walls, Gloria Ray. Minnie Jean Brown, Rochelle Young.
I am Minnie Jean Brown. I'm 16 years old and a junior in high school. I'm the oldest of 4 kids, and I'm one of the 9 children who integrated Central High School in Little Rock. I can remember October 2nd, 1957. Me and my friend Melba were walking to class, and these white boys and girls came up to us and started tormenting us and calling us names, and they wouldn't let us go to class. Well, this was one of the first racial incidents that happened in school, but it wasn't the last. One day, during a pep rally, I was getting ready to sit down, and this white boy came to me and kicked me for no reason at all. He threatened that if he saw me in the hall, he would kick out my teacher. Well, by December, I had had enough. I was in the cafeteria one day, and as I was walking to my table and had a tray in my hand, these white boys started shoving chairs in my way so that I couldn't sit down. Well, I was so fed up and mad and frustrated that I just took my tray and dumped it on the 2 boys' heads. They took me to the vice principal, and I was suspended for 6 days. And then another thing that happened was that I was sitting down and I'm sorry. The reason why I was expelled from Central High School is because this white girl had been following me throughout school for a couple of days. And one day when I came to school, she had followed me from the 1st floor to the 3rd floor all the way to my class. As I was walking up the steps, she was kicking the back of my leg. And as I was getting ready to walk into the classroom, she yelled out, "Black bitch." I turned around and said, "White trash." Why are you bothering? If you want white trash, you just leave me alone. Well, that wasn't it that day, so I continued. During lunch, I was sitting down and 2 white boys came over to me. One had a bowl of hot soup. He poured it on top of my head. The National Guardsman saw this and he took us to the principal's office. Well, we both were suspended. My mother wanted to press charges on this boy, but the prosecuting attorney said that the school handled it. Well, after this, I was expelled, and they sent this little pink slip home, and it said that I could not verbally nor physically make any statements, no matter how bad these white kids tormented me. Well, I was expelled from school the rest of the year. And I heard that those same kids that were tormenting us Negroes were now wearing signs that said, "1 down, 8 to go."
Thank you. Minnie Jean. Minnie Jean Wood finished school at a private New Lincoln School in New York City. She later granted a scholarship and graduated from New Lincoln on June 5th, 1959. The next young lady, Carlotta Walls. On deck is my name.
My name is Carlotta Walls. I'm 14 years old. I'm tall and angular. I like swimming and boating. And I am clearly one of the best baseball players in my whole neighborhood. I work with Minnie Jean and the others to integrate Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas. I, like the other 8 students, was subjected to physical and psychological torture. But fortunately, each day after school, we, the embattled students, sat in Miss Daisy Bates' basement, away from the COVID-19 reporters
and the hysterical charges of the segregationists that we were hirelings of the NAACP, imported from the North to integrate their schools. These groups were not unlike group therapy. We were able to relate our day's experience, and all of our suppressed emotions came tumbling out. If only I could stop her! There was this girl at school that followed me constantly, stepping on my heels and calling me names. But anyway, one day after school, I had to stop in Miss Bates' kitchen, under the escort of guardsmen as usual, to fix myself a ham sandwich before joining the others for our daily session. I'm sorry I held up the meeting. I just didn't have any lunch. I'm just so hungry. I'm sorry. You see, when I left my classroom, that girl was waiting for me. So I got one of my teachers to walk to the cafeteria with me. But just as I started eating my lunch, the girl passed my table and dropped a handful of milk bottle tops and soiled paper napkins in my food. I swear to God, I almost hit her. I don't care what y'all say, but one of these days I'm gonna knock the hell out of her. Today, I was walking down the hall. No, I was nearly running. That girl was trying to keep up with me. I turned suddenly and hard. I turned to her and smiled and called her a few choice names. And I told her what I'd do to her if she didn't leave me alone. And each time I saw her after that, I smiled to her pretty like. And you know what? After that, she didn't come near me anymore. You know, today was a rather nice day at school.
Other young lady is Gloria Ray. She's the Winchester.
I had just turned 15 when I entered Central High School. I was mentally and physically abused all the time. For instance, this girl in homeroom had told me some boys had guns in school that day. As I was walking down the hall, torpedoes, a type of firecracker, started exploding all around me. I was so scared, I shook with fear, I didn't know what to do. The next day, a boy tried to laugh at me with a rope, like a hangman's noose. Oh, I was so scared. The next day, I was in school and the boy had called at my house the night before and told my mother if I came to school the next day, I would be lynched. They kept trying to keep us black students down. Just before the spring vacation in 1958, I heard a rumor that some boys were delivering water pistols filled with acid and sprayed in the black students' faces. As I was leaving my locker, I saw a group of boys block the wall. So I turned and walked in the opposite direction. And as I rounded the corner, bam! Straight in my face was this boy holding a gun aimed straight at me. I'm older now, but I still got that fright, and I promise you, if I live forever, I don't think I will ever get scared as I was at that very moment. Aimed straight in my face, I just stood there, petrified, shook with fear. As the liquid hit my face, I dropped my book and grabbed the hem of my dress and wiped my face. It took me a few seconds to realize it was only water. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that the mounting attacks, the incessant humiliation and degradations, the harassment inflicted upon the black students, never kept us down. And until all that happened after the school vacation, we all came back. Every last one of us was in each class at Central High. The harassment started up again, but we still stayed in.
Our last performer is Catherine Dunham, Camille MacDonald.
Working,
son. I was born January 22nd, 1909 in Juliet, Illinois. I'm a writer, I'm a choreographer, I'm a teacher, but I'm also a dancer. You see, it's in me to dance. I have to dance. It's another way for physical expression. You see, my parents never wanted any of their children to become dancers, but that just made me want to do it even more. You see, while I was living in Martinique, some of my friends and I formed this dance company. And children and adults from all ages would come around and learn my dance steps, because what I did was I added African American and Caribbean culture to modern music. And it was time for our performance on Broadway. We put that performance on, it was near perfect, just like how I expected it to be. And that's when I realized what I was doing portrayed a part of black people that had never been seen before, on stage and in theater. When I was dancing on stage, I used to wind my hips and grind and bump. People said, you know something, Catherine? I see beauty in you. I see grace and elegance. Then I went to the nightclub. I did the same thing, just winding my hips, grinding and bumping. And it sexually moved the crowd. So I continued to do it. I never thought of myself as being sexy, but hey, to do the crowd, I did it. Well, my husband was a white man, and his secretary was a white woman. And his manager normally booked us hotels. So one day, he booked us a hotel, assuming that I was white, but I'm not. I'm black like that. You see, I got my key from the front desk to my room, and I walked proudly up my room in the hotel. It was kind of hot, so I opened the window. Then all of a sudden, the manager sent a big old bruiser upstairs. So I said, what are you here for? He said, very boldly, to take me out the room. So I went over to the window, I sat on the ledge, and I crossed my legs. I said, well, you come, and we're both going out this window. And I'll have somebody here to prove that you did it. The bruiser slowly turned around and walked out the room. See, if you make a point, it has to be backed up. It's that daring. And be willing to lose it. See, those young youths out there, breakdancing, that's another form of physical expression. You see, when you dance, dancing can free you from oppression. Like our friend said, Narelle, you don't just turn 12 times, you turn 24. A dancer can dance, but every dancer hurts, you know. That's the song.
To our famous women. At this particular time, unfortunately, because we had the fire drill and we're a little late, we had a skit that was planned by the young people who had participated in a workshop. Instead of doing that, we will move on to a poem that was written by Mark DiMaggio, who's from Rhinebeck High School and was also in that workshop. Mark?
Well, before I begin, I'd like to thank everyone who helped form the workshop that we had. It was very interesting, and it brought us together, the students from Mamaroneck and Rhinebeck, and it helped us, I think, in a way, mentally to realize what has happened in the past and the causes of it and how we can reconcile it. And we learned about the works of one great man, and I myself put something together to try to show and try to prove what his mode was. It's a poem entitled He. The day was so bright, moving past dark night. A new day was born to flush out the past. A new day was born, going valiantly fast. But was it to stay, this wonderful day? Was it to last beyond such a past? A past of resentment, a past of lost pride, a past of lost freedom, a past with two sides. Why sigh, said he, a voice in the crowd? Why live torn apart, ripped like a worn shroud? Why live with this name? Why live with such blame? But alone he stood, standing in silence. Alone he stood, behind all the violence. Again he spoke free, again straight out loud. But now something different. He drew a broad crowd. A crowd of all colors, a crowd of all race, a crowd of all people, a crowd of one face. And then it arose all to them. And then they moved forward, again and again. Without voices wailing, without cold remarks, without people stirring, without useless sparks. They all stood together and listened to hear. They listened to something without thoughts of fear. And then he arose from the side, and then he imposed with great pride, standing in motion, speaking with gall, bringing together, united for all. Realizing their rights, they all stood about. They moved slowly forward, not ranting about. Could it be true? Could it really be? Could I be the villain? Not possible. Not me. Questions poured over again and again. Questions from people, a foe and a friend. And then he stood up and took a great stride and asked in one question, where is your pride? Is it not a gift for all to share? Or a tool of misbelief, a weapon stripped of human care? And then they stood back, they hid once again, away from the agony of the pride to defend. But then they came back and stood under the light, and then they spoke freely with light. Could it be true? Were we all wrong? Could it be true? Were we closed up too long? They all stood together now. They all stood as one. Together with the problem and nowhere to run. I think he was right. His thought could be key. He's got a good point, a point set for me. So we moved them together with power of speech. They all fused forward in reliable reach. He stood high in the air, kept posture and glare, and the sun shone down with a powerful beam, and the words ushered forth, speaking of a dream. A dream with all people, a dream of new day, a dream of new freedom with no price to pay. And then it was begun, it happened so fast, to realize a new day, to vanish the past. It all seemed so real, now right within reach. A new way of life, a new word to preach. But then he was gone into the past. A catalyst ending, relieving the blast. Sacrificing to cause for reasons of pride. He formed a new race, one color, one side.
Stepped out for a moment, but we'll go ahead with the second selection by the choir, and then we'll proceed with the panel discussion. So we can have the choir come back. the American dream, we thought it would be very useful to get the perspective of others than natives of the United States of America. And so we have put together a most interesting and very distinguished panel. And the keynote address will be provided by a native of the United States of America, Sheila Morris, President of the Westchester Black Women's Political Caucus, Incorporated. And then she will moderate the discussion among the panelists, who include Mr. George Leclerc, Director of Information Product in the Department of Public Information of the United Nations Secretariat, a native of France, who's lived in Larchmont for the past 7 years. Ms. Manazani Zulu, a member of the African National Congress and a native of South Africa, who has lived in the United States since 1976, I believe she told me. And Ms. Martha Lopez, a longtime resident of the village of Amarant, but a native of Mexico, as has been mentioned. And Robert Burns said, would that gift the gift to give us to see ourselves as others see us? It will be exciting, I think, to hear how our visitors who are natives of other lands, but who live among us now, view for whom the American dream. And it's my privilege to ask Sheila Morris to come up and give the keynote address. Sheila.
Self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is the American dream. It does not say some men, it does not say all Gentiles. It does not say, but should say, all men and all women. Ever since the founding fathers of our nation dreamed this noble dream, America has been schizophrenic in its personality and tragically divided against herself. Martin Luther King, 1961. Harriet Sojourner, Fannie Lou, Cheryl, Claudia, Nadine, Glenna, for whom the dream, for whom the American dream, for whom the dream. His truth is marching on. Good evening, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sheila Morris, and I am the president of the Westchester Black Women's Political Caucus, Incorporated. For whom the American dream? The dream is the individuals. It is the communities. The dream is whatever you make it, whatever your needs, what your world is in need of. In this country, the color of your skin predetermines your life and oftentimes your death. I present before you that women are making strides in America, but at what cost? Will it be at the cost of our brothers, our sons, our husbands? America is not maximizing its resources, which would maintain and elevate us in the global community. I present for consideration what potential was lost for every guidance counselor who brothers and sisters to vacational schools? How many Ruth V. Washingtons did we lose? How many Malcolm X's are gone? How many Shirley Chisholms are no longer here? For the American dream is not the dream of African Americans. African Americans, we dream in living color. It is deep dark chocolate. It is soft brown caramel. It is light white bright honey. It is a dream lost in the Middle Passage, etched in stone by the slaves, reclaimed on national TV by Jesse Jackson and Anita Hill. It is sorrow, it is pain, it is despair. For whom the American dream? We have dreamed. Some have dreamed of that American pie in the sky. I would venture to say that we dream now of economic and societal freedom. We dream of affordable health care. We dream of political representation. What was Carol Moseley Braun's dream? She dreamed of the Senate. What was Simra Grandin's dream? She dreamed of the City Council. What is your dream? Our dreams define our paths on the earth. Our dreams are our windows to the soul of self. African American women have had the dubious honors of being the best, the baddest, the boldest, and the most beatific in attitude. For we have left our children to care for another's child, to pay for the food which we would work nourish our own families. While our homes are still threatened, our families are divided, our self-worth has been denigrated. But that was the past. A past that was intense in providing no opportunity to women, and definitely no African American woman. But we have accomplished a great deal. African American women are on the who's who list of the 25 most powerful women in the world. Women motivate, initiate, and enhance all areas of business, education, health, and politics. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, in this room, you share the first African American city councilwoman in the city of Yonkers, the first African American planning board member in the city of Yonkers, the first director of community relations in the city of Yonkers, and I am doubly proud to say the first African American woman that's a county legislator. And that pride is because all of these firsts are African American women who are members in good standing of the Westchester Black Women's Political Caucus. Most importantly, women are the decision makers and the decision influencers. We have a path that is undefined, and we are ready for our dreams. We are willing to collaborate to ensure the quality of life and business. Men have a role, women have a role, and together we make the tomorrows. As we move into the 21st century, the challenge before African Americans remains economic and societal freedom. Not freedom as our ancestors saw freedom, but freedom to determine our paths and to determine our heroines and our heroes. There is a fine-tuning of our African traditions, an evolution of the American way of life. We have enhanced our purpose, faith, unity, and responsibility to be proud of our heritage and united in our goals. For whom the American dream, for African Americans, the dream for African Americans is different. It is richer, fluid, and embracing. It is proud of difference, revering of challenge, and accepting of failure. Our dream is the continuity of life. In closing, I would like to share with you a poem written by a young teenager. I am black, I am proud. I am saying it clear and loud. I am telling this tale from behind the fence, for I cannot afford a bench. But that's okay, because I don't need rest. All I need is to express. This is from one black to another, especially to you black mothers and brothers. Because what we lack is being able to say, we are black. And what we need is to get up off our knees. So what we should do is walk in our own shoes and help each other out, for we can be the ones with the clout. Yes, we are black, and that is a fact. From one black to another, Siobhan Dean. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. As we have indicated, the theme is for whom the American dream. You've been introduced to our panelists, and each of them will take the time to share with you some of their dreams and what they have perceived as, because some of them are not from this country, well, all of them are not from this country except for me. And we're going to share our feelings about the dream on a more personal level. And I will begin at my left with Ms. Martha Lopez, and then Mr. Leckler, okay, and then my good friend, Ms. Mamazani Zulu.
Our community. And I would ask both of them to please come up. We do have little things for you. We have an illuminated scroll from Rosie Vita in recognition of an organization whose existence exemplifies the principles and dedication of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. 6th Annual Martin Luther King Jr. celebration presented by the Human Rights Commission of Larchmont, Maryland. And I hope someone has said, but I don't remember, that of course Rosie Vita means voice and blood. Now, whoever wants to carry these things. And we understand that one of the things you're thinking of doing is establishing a scholarship fund. And we have a check for $200 for Rosie Vita, and I think you'll figure out a way to get this into a proper account to start to launch the scholarship fund. So we thank you. We're glad to have you say a word.
Voz y Vida is extremely proud to be the recipient of the Martin Luther King Award. It was a very nice surprise that we did not expect. We want to tell you, first of all, if it's possible, it's just going to take a minute. I would like to have the members of Voz y Vida come up because they all deserve an applause because they have worked very hard for over a year and a half, and I would like them to be here with us. I would also like to thank many people that have helped us very much throughout this year and a half. Although they are not members of Voz y Vida, they have become part of our very hard work. I'd like to thank Reverend Shillity, I want to thank Sister Laura for making this possible. Without her, we would not have become Voz y Vida. Thank you very much. We go into the scholarship. This will be our first year that we will have a scholarship.
One more recognition we wish to make, which is not on the program. And Cora, would you come up, please? You must have some inkling of the dedication that Cora has put into this effort for many years. And her fellow commissioners felt that it was time there was something tangible to demonstrate this. So we have a plaque presented to Cora Rust in admiration of your committed coordination of 6 MLK Junior observances, 1988 to 1993. Human Rights Commissioners, Village of Larchmont, Town and Village of Romagna, January 15th.
Share this with me, and I am really eternally grateful to them. I know that it's very hard work at times, but it really is worth it. Thank you. And in conclusion, I had lots of remarks, but I will suffice to say thank you. It was a wonderful program. I enjoyed myself. I learned a lot, and I appreciate everyone who participated, and thank you, audience, for coming and bearing with us to this hour. I would like to mention another wonderful community opportunity. On February 25th, Professor Cornell West will come to Mamaroneck High School and speak to us about the situation of racism in the world and society. So please come, look for an announcement in the newspaper. If you would all stand and join us and join the choir in our final selection, and thank you again.
Yeah. Thank you.